Hello, Fairfield. You are watching Fairfield 2.0 and another exciting adventure, another installment of this show that's about Fairfield's creative community mainly, but also it's about you. We got to get you on this show at some point. But today we have two very intense artists that we're just going to jump right into this because this is one of my favorite. This will be one of my favorite shows because of the amount of talent that's sitting to my right over here. First, let's start over here with the gentleman, Rob Reeder. Everybody in Fairfield is familiar with Rob Reeder, Art Expo Studio, and et cetera, and we're going to jump right into all of your musical history in addition to art. There are so many things I'm discovering about you now that I'm going to have you talk about it. And then of course Josie Overmyer being the daughter of Fairfield in some respects, and she has her own album right now, Little Bird. And we'll be talking about that, and why, look, there's a guitar. We may even have a little music. But also, she was involved with a project called Bedrooms and Basements, which was, well, we're going to have her talk about that too. It was basically the young talent of Fairfield getting together to put out a project, and this was it. And where do we start? We had an arm wrestle the other day that determined who we were going to talk to first, but let's not do that. Rob. Let's start with you because you have a history in the music business as an artist, as a songwriter, behind the scenes, blah, 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 blah. So can you do me a favor? Just give me a little linear recap.
Sure. So, well, let's see. I moved to Los Angeles from Northern California when I was 19. Because I wanted to go try my hand at me. I'd been in bands since I was 12.
Playing
drums, and then I started singing and found that it was a lot easier to play guitar when you're singing. So I learned how to play guitar by listening to Dylan records. And
nice.
Yeah. So went to Los Angeles when I was 19. Had a list of names of producers in the business and just went door to door all over Hollywood, getting to know everybody. And within 6 months, I was in the recording studio with Crazy Horse.
Oh my gosh!
And it was produced by. Oh man, I'm gonna have to struggle for names. This is like what, 25 years ago. Henry Louie,
the great Henry Louie.
Studio B.
A&M Studio, and also Joni Mitchell's Phantom producer. He really never got credit for being producer, but yeah.
That's right. Joni actually was producing one of her records when we were recording. So in fact, I sang on one of her records.
Which one did you sing on?
It was called Miles of Isles. It was a live album.
Okay, I got to hear this story. This is a great story. Yeah. I actually know a little bit of this. Go ahead.
Well, so
Miles of Isles being the live album for the tour for, I think it was for the Roses. It was right before Court and Spark, right?
Yeah, it sounds right.
It was released after Court and Spark, but I think it was the tour for the Roses where she had a couple of songs from.
Could be.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of people in the studio at this point, and he was trying to get more audience sing-along kind of sounds to add to the live record. So he just asked us all to get together, and I'm standing right next to Karen Carpenter, and there are other people like of that stature. And
Karen, of course, using the A&M studios because she was an A&M artist, and Richard liked to use the studios.
Yeah. So and I actually got to listen to some of the recordings that they made.
We're going to get there. Joni Mitchell, this is great.
Okay, so Joni Mitchell.
Are you listening, Fairfield?
That's pretty much it as far as that.
And the seasons, they go round, and I'll bet you sang on that, right? Did they beef up the audience with you guys?
You know, I can't remember if that was the song or not. There were actually a couple songs that we did that on sing-along with. Yeah, it could have been.
I wonder, I tried my best coming from doing archives for a while, and I had friends who, I never worked directly for WIA, for any of the Warner Brothers labels, but I had a friend look in the vaults once to see if there were any tapes associated, other masters associated with Miles of Isles, and there were a lot of concert tapes, but apparently there weren't really many, if any. I think there were none, in fact. There were no other mix downs. Joni is such a, I think she's just one of those people where she changes her mind so much, but on the other hand, that was a focused album. They knew exactly what they wanted on that thing. Maybe not the sequence, but that was an amazing project to be a part of. I thought honestly, I thought that was the best sounding live album ever, but now we know that it was also because it was a little tweaked in the studio. Okay.
Yeah, well, Henry was a master. I mean, he was really an amazing producer.
And the other people he worked with, like Joan Armatrading, Stephen Bishop, I think he worked a little with. Yeah, he was
There
an
were some
amazing...
rock bands he worked with as well, and he got amazing bottom end sounds. And
Yeah,
he was.
These were rich tones. I
Yeah.
remember Peter Asher. This is all inside baseball, I guess, for some of the people who are watching now. Hi, Fairfield. Just join us when you. Some of this we're both from old days of the music business, so it's kind of fun to chat like this because there are very few people I can do this with. So forgive me if it gets a little long in the tooth with this stuff. But the one thing I wanted to go to, let's go to the Carpenters story.
Oh, well, that's just a small little story. They were recording their record, and when we were in between takes, I was allowed to sneak in and just kind of sit in the back, and so I did that a lot.
Do you remember any songs in particular?
Oh, that they were working on?
Yeah.
What I remember more than the music was Karen sitting there knitting on the couch for
That's
hours
wild.
while they were working on the record. Yeah.
What year around was that? Do you remember?
Oh, well, let's see. I was 19, so I was born in 51. What does that make it? Early 70s.
Yeah. So all right. So I'm just I over the years I've also gotten to work with Richard on a few projects and Richard Carpenter, and the thing there was that he could never. We were always trying to get him. It was very important for me because I was such a fan when I was a kid. In addition to Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and all that, I also liked the Carpenters, the Partridge Family. I liked music of all sorts, but I loved some of the Carpenter stuff. And finally, when I got to work with him when I was at Universal, we were trying desperately to convince him to put Carpenter songs on reissues or compilations or whatever, or movies, put them in movies, because the Carpenters will be known by the generation that likes the Carpenters, and they may be on Muzak or easy listening, but they're not going to get introduced to any other generation. So I felt it was important to get stuff out there all the time. I had a little success, and then we did a project called Carpenter's Gold together, which was a nice project, and it was a little rip-off of ABBA Gold, but that was, I think, what sold him because he saw the potential of being able to, tap into something that was a classic album, and then we started a series based on that. We started a double disc series at Universal. So the Carpenters was the launch of the double disc Gold series.
Oh, we know.
All right, too much insider baseball. Enough of that.
But one last Karen Carpenter story.
Yeah.
Her guitar player Tony Bone, can't remember his last name.
Tony Palooza?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He produced actually a project that I was working on, and we recorded in the Beach Boys studio in Santa Monica for that project. But he took me as a guest on one of their tours, and actually flew in their plane, and there was a recording that we were doing in Vegas. And the interesting thing is they had to start this recording at 6 a.m. So Karen shows up at 6 a.m. and her voice is absolutely spot on that fast. Yeah.
Yep.
Alan, unbelievable voice.
Alan, to that point, I was MTM Records, which was the label that I was on for a little bit. This keeps coming back to me. Oh my God, I don't know how to do this. But this is the insider baseball thing, and there's a Josie. I'm so sorry. We're gonna get right in here. I swear.
Okay.
I swear. But when we were, I was signed to Mary Tyler Moore's label, MTM Records, and that was based on the projects that producer Tommy West, Cashman and West, they produced Jim Croce and had the Life Song label, his partner Terry Cashman and Tommy West. Anyway, the point is that he had started a label for Mary Tyler Moore with Alan Bernard as one, and Howard Stark. Howard Stark being from ABC Records in the ABC record period that he was president of ABC Records. They had Poco, Poco. Oh God, Legend, Poco Legend album. They had Steely Dan Asia. It was a really good run, and then the company went bankrupt. So there was that. But then Alan Bernard was Karen Carpenter's B&B Associates is where he came from. He was the second B of B&B, and he used to tell stories about Karen where he said even her speaking voice, she would mellow you out. You would be like, oh, say more, Karen, and she was Ms. Natural, in that she was just that was her voice, that whole thing. And he said he never, and Richard said this too, she never sang a flat note. She was perfect. She was like one of these people who was perfect in every way. And the legacy she leaves behind, she did leave enough recordings so that it isn't like we've been cheated of maybe Carpenter's music, but it would have been interesting. Don't you? I'm asking you, maybe wouldn't it have been interesting for Karen to have been around past the 80s, maybe when drum machines and a lot of the synthesized sounds were there? Wouldn't it have been fun to see what she would have done as an adult, as a matured grown-up,
Yeah. Although she always seemed a little bit on the mature side already for her age.
Yeah, people would call the records corny, of course, and they were all aimed at the parents, and they were very, like that. But on the other hand, I wonder if Linda Ronstadt did the What's New album and all of that, and the stuff that came after that for the 3 albums, I think, right? I would have loved to have heard that type of rapturous, if that's a word, music around that voice. That would have been a good time. Anyway, speaking of Josie Overmyer, Josie, you, as we said before, a couple of projects here. Her album Little Bird, and also Bedrooms and Basements, the local project that was a lot of contributions from the local young talent. First of all, let's start with your album. You had to choose the songs for this album.
Yeah.
How did you write for the album, or was it just,
No.
okay, I'm going to record some of my old great songs I like?
Yeah, that's what it was. We decided to do the album, and it was all just old songs that I had written. So.
As you're recording all of these songs, and you did it with Owen Blake, right?
Owen Blake, and then Nate Hedrick, my boyfriend, we
Right.
recorded it in our home.
Okay, so
Yeah.
shout out to both
Yes.
musical figures in Fairfield. I'm curious if, as you were making this album, it took this is Little Bird. I mean, when people name their albums and they do and look at the photography, you're not really going to be able to see this too well, but maybe we could do a slide or something like that. However, maybe we could show this later. But the music and the graphics and just the production on here and the musicianship, this is what this project is. It is exactly this. I know that sounds esoteric. I don't mean that to be, but it's just everything fits very nicely together, as if this were a project that you sat down and designed from scratch.
Right.
Now, regardless of these songs being older songs or whatever, did you find during the process that this gelled as sort of like that's what this project is, and maybe even that's kind of who I am, isn't it? And then you just kept going with that during the process?
I think so. It just all kind of came together like that. It was really interesting how it worked. I mean, it's fresh in my mind, but I'm on to new things now, so I'm kind of forgetting little things. But it was I'm glad, especially with the photography, how it turned out and how it really did work. It was Cody Montgomery, who lives in town. He's away right now, but he made it look exactly how it sounds. Just
That's
like
what
he
and
said.
that's it.
I mean, I don't know how he did it, but
You gave him the music and said, "Here, go."
I don't even know if he had listened to it before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was a synchronous thing that happened.
It
Nice.
just kind of happened.
Are you, when you listen to it now, do you sit back and, a lot of artists listen to their projects a little later, and then they think, some think, I would have done that differently. I would have done that differently. But some artists sit back and they go, they sit with their wine and they're drinking in front of the nice speakers and they're going, that's a nice album. Did you have was there a warmth or an identification with this when you were listening to it back maybe for the first time after it had been mastered and you're sitting and you're...
The first time I listened to it after it had actually been mastered a few times because, this was done in our home on not, real, high-end equipment or anything. Yeah. So it had to go back a few times. But the first time I listened to it, I just kind of sat there and cried. It was it was really amazing. Yeah. I never thought that I would do something like that.
And this is your first album?
Yeah.
Would you consider this this is like, you cried as you said, is this sort of like, oh my God, this is my debut album? There was an aha?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome that we accomplished something like that.
When you look, and then when you're looking at it like this. This was not always like this. This was a group of songs that were hanging out. And then, now, when you look at it after the fact, is there a different kind of thought that you're having about some of the songs? Like, you're looking at it and go, something? I'm listening to this now, and I'm understanding sort of a little better what I was saying about this. Like maybe something was stream of consciousness at the time, and then you're looking at it later and going, maybe that's more psychological than not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can remember one conversation, I don't know, maybe it was over the summer or something, I was talking to Nate and saying that the next album I did, I wanted there to be kind of a theme, because before I sort of felt like this album was just a collection of songs that I had written, and they were put on an album. Right. But he pointed out to me that actually there was kind of a theme. It's slightly with the subject of death and kind of moved on to the last song is called My Daughter, so it's kind of like, death to birth. So
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. What can you identify through the storyline? Not through the storyline, but what was the death about? Was it?
It was actually my brother.
Right.
Yeah. My brother passed away when I was in high school, and he was only 19 when it happened. So
Sorry.
it was really, it was an intense thing that my family went through. And I was so young when it happened that I didn't really know how to deal with all that. It was just all really strange. So a lot of these songs are really just me coming to terms with what happened to the family and everything.
Oh.
Yeah, which is great. I'm so happy that I have that.
And
Otherwise, I don't know what else,
Yeah. And then what about the perspective of the daughter at the end?
Yeah, that was. I don't have any children.
Right.
And I don't plan on having any anytime soon. But when I really do look forward to having children, and that's just kind of what the song is about, and that feeling that I'm sure that every parent, every mother has when they have their first child. So that's kind of.
This is wonderful. We are talking with Josie Overmyer, daughter of Fairfield. We'll change it now to daughter of Fairfield since the title. And Rob Reeder, the established Rob Reeder in the community through Art Expo Studios. Is it studios or studio?
Studio.
Studio. And what happened was Matthew Santos might be joining us in a little bit. Matthew Santos is playing tonight. By the time this airs, he will have played at Cafe P. And we have a chair at the end for him here. But I was running around. I was going, we got to have somebody so we could pal around with Josie with. And I was like, we're literally next door to the studio. We have Rob's Art Expo studio. And Rob is somebody that I was planning on, I was hoping to get here. And you graciously came by, and I really appreciate it. We were talking about the creation of we were getting into the creation of songs and sort of themes and stuff. Will you talk about some of your original music? For instance, we talked about the albums, a couple of albums that you had experienced. One with Crazy Horse. What was it like in the studio with Crazy Horse? How crazy was it?
Oh, it was not crazy at all. It was just one of these moments when they were in between projects with Neil Young and they were available, and a good friend of mine knew them really well, and we got together, played the songs, and Henry really thought it would be a good idea to just go in and do it, so we did. And we just went in and recorded the songs pretty quickly. It was Billy and Ralph and Tony was the guitar player at that particular period.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
Do you remember? So you remember the album, and you remember that. I'll bet you remember that pretty crystal clear, right?
Yeah.
But
I did have the opportunity previous to that to see them play quite a few times in Topanga Canyon with Neil Young, and when Danny Whitten was still around. So I think I'm one of the rare people who got to see all of that.
Nice. Did you feel like, having played with Crazy Horse, I'm not going to ask, did you feel like Neil Young?
Oh.
But did you feel like that was a special kind of collection, a special combination?
I was so thrilled with being able to play with people that I, was so I admired so deeply that, I don't know, but the experience for me was kind of very surfacey. I didn't really get to go into it very deep, although I did get into my songs, and I think they turned out really, really well.
And then you've had a number of recordings, so you've had a number of albums, right?
Not really.
Okay,
no,
all right.
Yeah, no, I recorded that record, and then I did a few other recordings. They weren't whole records, and then recorded a record with Sage here in Fairfield.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. But I did have a lot of material that was recorded by other people during the time that I was staff writer at ATV Music and Screen Gems EMI.
There we go. This is where I want to go now. This is the juicy business. I love this stuff. I live for this stuff. So you were signed songwriter to a publishing company. So during that run, and a couple of, it was ATV.
And then Screen Gems EMI.
Okay, beautiful.
When ATV, when I signed with them, it was also a production deal.
Nice.
And we really were making some great records.
Yeah.
But they were publishing demos.
Yeah.
With the idea that they were going, and we actually did put a production deal together with Harry Maslin.
Yeah, Harry Maslin. Yeah. Harry Maslin also of, the Record Plant, New York. I think he did a lot of work out of there. He worked with The Sweet.
Air Supply.
Air Supply. Air Supply.
Yeah. There were a few other people. Yeah. But,
Dion from the Return of the Wanderer album, but I digress.
So we were making these records. They weren't really publishing demos. They're, there's an art to making publishing demos. You don't go too far on the creative side. You just kind of wide open so that whoever records it can do their own thing. Yeah. So, but we were making records. And so we were getting covers. We were getting a lot of covers, but people would record it and not be able to duplicate what we did, and it would end up not getting on the record. So that was kind of my pattern.
Yeah, I have a similar, unfortunately, I have similar experience. This is about you, this is not about me. But I do want to ask you, you did have covers. I mean, but things did come out. Who recorded some of your stuff?
Recorded by Bette Midler, Glenn Campbell.
What are the songs?
They both recorded a song called Brand New Pair of Shoes.
Brand New Pair of Shoes. It's so familiar, and yet.
Well, it was never put out on a record. In both cases, it was recorded and not put on the record.
Okay.
And then I had a cover of Heart of Hearts with, let's see, who was it? Oh yeah, Everly Brothers.
Oh, them. What album was that from? Was that one of the 70s albums?
Didn't make the record.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was my.
All right, I'm going to interject here.
But I did have a hit.
What was your hit?
Yeah, my hit was It Was So Easy with Stacey Ladisaw. She was 16.
Oh, wow.
And it went on national television. And she went on the Mike Douglas show.
Oh, Mike Douglas show. Mike Douglas show, for any young Fairfieldians who are watching this, was a talk show much like this, only not like this at all.
It was a national talk show.
It was a national talk show.
So my song was on national television, and she sings it live and the Bee Gees were on the show, or I should say Barry Gibb was on the show as well. She sings the song, sits down next to Barry Gibb, and she says, "Thank you for that song." And he said, "That's not my song." So they went to break, and I'm in Topanga Canyon going, "Wait a minute."
It's right, exactly.
But I think that was our publishing company getting a place, kind of a,
That's nice, and it got national play, and there must have been some residuals, I guess, coming from that. At some
it
point,
was
right?
a hit. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Residuals from television, but royalties. The royalties were pretty good, I imagine.
Actually, I don't know if I got royalties for that, but I did get royalties. I actually worked as an actor too.
When you were an actor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another story.
Let's go. Come on, you coughed it up.
I was I played. I was a good friend of a casting director for a lot of television shows.
Oh, wow.
And so I got called in and I also ran an actor's workshop for a while.
You look a little like Mark Harmon. I mean, I could.
So they called me in to do shows all the time. I actually was on 8 different seasons of Give Me a Break, which was a live sitcom.
Right. Yeah. What was it like playing live, performing live, where anything could happen? Of course, just
fun.
like the show.
No. It was fun and boring, but fun. A lot like being in the recording studio.
Right. It's like nothing wrong, bad, really, sitting around, right?
Yeah.
Are you now through the years? Of course, you've continued writing. You've continued doing, and there happens to be a sheet of paper in front of you over here.
Yeah.
Could it be something you've written?
It's a brand new song.
A brand new song,
which I debuted last night at Cafe P.
Oh, beautiful! All right, last night was the open mic that we have here.
Yeah.
That we have here at Fairfield's Cafe P, Fairfield 2.0. The folks who are watching right now, I want to ask you if you're in the mood to sing a little song right now.
Sure.
All right, cool. Josie, can he borrow your...
Oh, of course.
How spontaneous was that?
more try. One more chance for finding your love. Just one more smile and one more conversation. I look for you every place. I look for you in every face. Oh, where could you be? You're all I think about. You're all that I want. Living a dream. I know that someday we'll be together again, but until then, oh, we live in a dream. We live in a dream.
Very nice, man. That's great. And that's the second time that's being played in public. Well,
Yeah, that
it's sort of
is.
being
Yeah.
public, very public.
If this is public.
It is. Now since we're in music mode, before I would love, Josie, if you could play something. Would you play something for us?
Yeah, I'd
All
love
right. We're also going to bring on Matthew Santos in a moment. But I wanted to ask you, as Matthew is making his way into the studio, I said as Matthew is making his way into the studio, I
believe he's disappeared.
I believe. Could you have Matthew come into the studio, please? I wanted to ask you about this bedrooms and basements project. Just a couple of seconds on that. Is Matthew coming? Come on, Matthew, get in here. Come on in here. Come on in here. All right. So there you go, Matthew. Matthew Santos, how are you? Grammy-nominated Matthew Santos, as we like to say around here. How are you?
I'm Robert.
Hey, Robert, Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Robert
Hi,
Reed.
Josie. Nice to meet you.
Josie Overmyer.
Great.
And it's nice that you got here.
Oh, man, yeah.
Traffic sucked, huh?
Well, you could say that.
Was it just trying to get through down Main Street in Fairfield? I mean, that could be a mess.
No, that wasn't so bad. Honestly, you called right when we were merging onto like the 218, 34, and then we got onto 218 going north. And we went for about 15 minutes before we realized we weren't even on our GPS map.
Oh,
So it was kind of, but it was our fault to begin with.
You got here. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Now play a song.
Okay, what would you like to hear?
Play anything you like, sir. Play something you might be playing tonight, which won't be tonight by the time Fairfield sees this. But Matthew is joining us here on Fairfield 2.0, but also he's joining us over at Cafe P, which is right down the street. He has his own show tonight, the Matthew Santos Show.
Yes,
Although it's not really called that. And Matthew has been nominated for an Academy Award, no, a Grammy, but which is actually more to me. It means a little more because the Oscars. Did you watch the Oscars?
No,
Did you guys?
Didn't catch it this time.
It's like nobody I know is watching the Oscars anymore, but everybody was watching the Grammys. I would love. I'll shut up. Let's hear a song, and then I want to talk. Let's talk about the song.
Okay. I think I'm gonna do. I wasn't even aware. aware that I was going to be playing anything.
Oh,
But
yes.
I should have assumed. So, okay, it's not that out of tune. So this is a song called Not Such a Big World. And it came out of touring a lot and trying to keep in touch with people that I love. When I go
Take two.
Here we go again. When I go, we don't have to feel alone. We can write each other, we can talk on the phone all night if you want to. It's not such a big world these days. It's not such a big world these days. Through the mountains, up and down the winding roads, heading westward towards the California coast. Red sun sets fire on the horizon, singing ooh, shine your light on me, shine your light on me. It's not such a big world these days. It's not such a big world these days. So take your picture, how I long to see your face, and take you with me to every strange and lonesome place. No love like your love, sweet darling, singing ooh, shine your light on me. Shine your light on me. It's not such a big world these days. It's not such a big world these days. So when I go now, honey, we don't have to feel alone, 'cause we can Skype each other. We can talk on the phone all night, if you want to. Singing ooh, shine your light on me. Shine your light on me. Ooh, shine your light on me. Ooh, shine your light on me.
Wow, yeah. Beautiful. Oh, nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Santos. We're lucky to have him here. We're lucky to have Rob Reeder, and we're lucky to have Josie Overmyer here today on Fairfield 2.0. Thank you for watching, and we're not done yet. Don't you go away. Yeah, we have that many minutes left. Hey, cameraman Jason Strong is also director, producer, as we say, emperor of the known universe. How you doing back there?
Pretty good.
What do you think of all this musical talent over here?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounding great.
Yeah. We owe them a lot of money now, don't we? Yeah.
I wish it would.
Sorry. Well, we haven't heard from Josie yet, and I kept doing this. I said, let's talk about this, but before we talk about this, But do me a favor. Will you give me the 10-minute, the 30-minute recap on what this project, how it came together? You were part of this, of course, and you're one of the featured artists on here. So,
Yeah.
From your perspective, how did this all come together?
Well, I mean, it's everybody at the beauty shop, Steve Cooperman and Phil Rabelais and Dom Rabelais, of course. I didn't really have much to do with anything except for being asked to have a song on it,
Right.
and I was pleased to do that because everybody's great on there.
Nice. But you you listen to that back, and these are all. I'll be obnoxious and say kids, but these are all a lot of kids, quote
Yeah.
unquote, growing up together,
Yeah.
and now you're making projects together like this. And the atmosphere of town is everybody's on each other's projects for the most part.
Yeah,
Everybody's
pretty
playing on
much.
each other's records. You all grew up together. You know each other. You're real tight. That's a very impressive. We'll raise this one more time. It's a very impressive collection. Bedrooms and basements. Basements being, of course, bedrooms and basements being where everybody recorded these projects.
Yeah, the basement being
The Appleseed
Yeah, yeah.
Productions, recording, whatever.
Studio,
yeah. But also we had Josie Overmyer's Little Bird album that we were talking about earlier, and we haven't heard from you musically. We have to hear a little something, and then we're going to get to Yo, because we need a little back history on you too, okay? But Josie, can you play something maybe from the album, or anything you want?
Yeah, no, I was gonna do the song that I was talking about before, My Daughter, which is the last
Beautiful.
on the album.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hopefully this will be.
Everybody's getting all comfy, and it's like.
So this is called My Daughter. It's the last song on Little Bird. She's got the brightest eyes. Take two. I forgot my own lyrics there. Time she walks in the room, I smile. She's got the brightest eyes, her legs are running wild. I don't know her yet. That's my daughter. Write 1,000 songs before you're born. I hope you hear them in your womb, nice and warm. I don't know you yet, but you're my daughter. You take my fears away when I see you. I pray every day it will be soon. You don't know me yet, but you're my daughter. And I'll sit right on the moon and keep my eyes on you. And I'll watch for you every night, make sure you never leave my side. Don't leave my side. I feel you kicking at my walls
That's featured on Little Bird, Josie Overmyer. When you sing it, do you feel it differently every time, or is it evoking a similar thing almost every time? You're pulling from the same.
Pretty much.
Nice. It's so sweet. We haven't gotten anything out of you yet, sir. Young man, thank you for showing up again.
I'm sorry I was late.
No, Brian, no. Not a problem. Matthew Santos, for everybody who is joining us right now. We heard a song earlier, and is that from, which project is that from?
That's from the new record, Quickly Disappearing, a song called Not Such a Big World.
Not Such a Big World. What's the album again?
Quickly Disappearing.
Quickly Disappearing.
Just released it this year, January 1st, I believe, or 31st, I can't remember. And I've been touring ever since and just trying to get it out there to people.
Where are you in the area in addition to Fairfield?
We have one more show in Davenport, and then back to Chicago, and then got about a week off, and then I head out west to New Mexico and Phoenix, and then all the way up the west coast to up California, up into Seattle.
Are your gigs mainly places like Cafe P, and are those more the venues you're playing? Are you an opening act or a main act for?
Well, this West Coast tour, we're doing sort of a Candy Rat record label package. So I'm playing with like 3 virtuosic acoustic guitarists, who are just like all over the place, and
Nice.
Which is great in one sense because I'm sort of like the bridge to the song, the metaphorical song, meaning that they're all acoustic guitars, and then you have this one songwriter in there that's sort of the takeaway, and then so it'll be an interesting tour, but nonetheless, a lot of these Midwest shows where I'm headlining, if you will.
Nice.
But some of the venues out west are really intimate places like Cafe Paradiso, and
Yeah.
I prefer to play the more intimate, smaller places.
Yeah.
Really reach people.
And what's interesting is that you've got, with Cafe P, you're starting to develop your own audience because you are no stranger to Fairfield.
Yes.
You have been here before. You were here with Caleb, Hewley, and who was the woman who was with you?
Caleb Holly and Rachel Platten. Sorry.
Rachel
Platten.
Platten, who recently got a record deal, I hear, with Sony or something.
I think so, probably, yeah. She's good.
And you have your Grammy nomination, and apparently Caleb is walking around going, "Wait a minute, where's my share? What is this?"
He was on American Idol. I think he's going to give that another shot too. So.
Yeah, there's that. There's that. Tell me about, go into the story of the Grammy nomination. What that was from?
It was from sort of a side project I did with a conscious hip hop artist from Chicago named Lupe Fiasco.
Right.
And it started back in 2006 or 7, and then I did some collaborations with him on his first CD, and then the second CD was what got us the Grammy nominations.
Nice.
The song called Superstar was nominated for Best Song and Rap Collaboration. We lost to Kanye, of course. So, and,
Hey, you, Kanye!
and then I was featured on 2 other tracks on the same record, and the record was nominated for Best Rap Album.
Nice.
Now, I'm sure you could tell it's not really my genre.
Except when you do the looping thing, like you guys when you were playing together that night, everybody was doing their loop to loop.
Yes.
I loved that. That was a lot of fun. But
That was fun. Yeah.
but this, are you, well, when you're performing tonight or will have performed at Cafe B, what apparatuses are you bringing with you? Apparati.
Apparati. I'm still doing the loop pedal. I got a lot of different effects pedals for the guitar and vocals. This time around, actually, I have my keyboardist playing with me as well, so he'll be backing up with some funky organ and some piano and stuff like that. So
Nice.
It'll be different than previous performances here. Hopefully in a good way. There'll be a lot of new material. And, yeah.
Was that the first time you were here last time?
The last time was actually the second time
Oh.
where we headlined at Cafe Parody. So I don't think anyone opened up for us.
I don't think so either. I think
Yeah.
it was the 3 of you, and then you all took turns, which I thought was wonderful. I love how that's set up.
That was actually the time before the last time I was here.
Oh, when was the last?
So,
Oh,
the last time I was here was like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I think. Yeah.
where was I? Wait a minute.
You know, we're so bad at promoting something.
No, sorry. I would have definitely caught it. I loved your music. When the 3 of you went on, I realized each of you had such different, not talents, but such different identities that you were bringing to the stage and to the whole group. And I just loved the diversity of that and how you were the cleanup. Like I said, in baseball, you'd be the cleanup, the batter. And it was really wonderful to see the interaction between the 3 of you too. Do you find yourself like jumping up? How often do you do performances where it's like impromptu and you're always playing with someone else as sort of like a last minute, hey, Matthew, come on up here. And is that happening?
Kind of like this TV show?
Kind of like right there tonight.
Got a call last night. I think it was, that was actually the last time that I've been able to do something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it's so much fun, you just throw everything out the window, no preparation really, you just have to, like for instance, we were doing a Beatles cover, I think it was yesterday, and I didn't know the lyrics to the last verse. I was trying to pull it up on my phone, and the last verse came along.
I think I remember that. Yeah, that's right.
And it was loading so slowly, so by the time my verse was up, I was just like, improvising lyrics. I can't remember what I said.
Whatever they were, they must have been good because that was a lot of fun. I have to ask you, what are you up to? You have the new album, and you have the tour that you're doing that you were mentioning. Do you have it's a new album, but are you already starting to write for the next project?
Yes, actually. Gosh, I feel like even the moment that the record gets done, I'm already looking forward to the next record. So I've got like 3 or 4 songs in the mix for the next one. A really different approach. I'm going more lo-fi, less going into the studio and paying an arm and a leg to record for 2 days. So I'm doing a lot more myself in my living room, and I like it.
Pro Tools?
Well, or Ableton.
Ableton. Here we go. Ableton is like, that's the password is Ableton. It's like this town is infatuated with Ableton right now. We had somebody in residence over here. I forget his name. Do you remember?
Yeah, Jeremy Averett or something.
Averett, I think that was it. Jeremy Ableton. But it was when he came to town, it was like he was giving lessons, then everybody was using it on their projects, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
And then you can record in it too. It's just that it's not as flexible apparently as Pro Tools.
It depends.
If you have it mastered, you can do it.
I don't have it mastered by any means. I'm still amateur, but you can just do so much. I've worked with Pro Tools most of my life, but Ableton it's so intuitive, so much more intuitive, I think.
Nice. My standard question for everybody that I interview, Big Star and us, is what advice might you have for new artists?
Well, I would say it's it's always a hard question. There's so many directions I can go with it. As far as like artistic integrity, everybody has something unique about them, and there's so much pressure to sort of conform to what is popular, or what sounds like Adele, or what sounds, I mean, just conform to what's the mainstream norm. And I think a lot of artists give up that unique spark that they have to sort of try to fit in with what's popping. And I don't know. I found myself dealing with that as well throughout my progression as an artist. And this record, Quickly Disappearing, is actually sort of a return to the roots. So I would say try to keep it as close to your, not necessarily, don't reach out, but I mean, you have to keep your initial spark and your initial inspiration for wanting to play music at heart. You can't lose that. You can't lose the love for it. And it's really easy to do, especially when you get involved in the industry, because it becomes so monetarily focused.
Yeah. By the way, was that your train that just passed?
That was my train.
We don't want to keep you, but there are only a couple more minutes left of the show, so hang in there. Rob Reeder.
Same question?
Same question.
Well,
Rob Reeder, of course, Rob is from the music business also, and he's been an artist. He's worn a lot of hats also, songwriter, go.
Well, I think being authentic is kind of like the same thing you're talking about. I think telling your truth, being authentic. I get some really good advice early on. I used to have a problem with kind of freezing up a bit when I was performing.
Yeah.
And somebody just gave me this advice once on the fly in a recording studio, just go with it, relax, just play what you feel. And so I've used that a million times since, and it always works.
Just go with it.
Yeah, I don't care if it's songwriting or working in the studio or working in live performance. There's a thing where you just relax and go inward and like just get in that zone and you don't make mistakes. Or if you do, it's fine.
Or if you do, it's fine, right? It's because that's part of the vibe, the oeuvre.
Yeah.
Josie.
I'm a new artist, so can I really answer
But this is
that?
why this is good. This is good.
Well, I think I have to, not to steal both of your answers, but I'm kind of learning that myself recently, is to just kind of be happy with myself and what I have to offer and not pay too much attention to what other people are, pay attention to what other people are doing, but don't get jealous that somebody else has, some kind of talent that you don't, because I can do that really easily. But recently, and even in the past month, I've, every time I get kind of go into that thought pattern, I just stop myself and say, no, you've got something that's great, and, everybody else can have something that's great too. It doesn't, don't compare yourself too much.
Yeah, and you do have something great. It's really
Thank
beautiful. By the way, Josie Overmyer, we've done this once or twice during the show. Josie, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And telling us all about your music. There's so much more. We have to do this again because there's so much more of everybody here, actually. This wasn't enough time. It was very funny. Usually an hour is like, we're starting to talk about Bruce Springsteen, right? When the others are starting to talk about, today we're talking about the Carpenters for a little bit, but not that long. I'm really happy. I'm really pleased that all of you came here. Rob Reeder, of course, you are a town fixture as far as, just people admiring your talent and respecting you and FMC and your involvement and all that. And Matthew Santos, one of the more impressive acts that have come through town that I've really wanted to make sure that when you're in town, I do want to see, which really makes me PO'd that I didn't see you the last time out. But you're actually an honorary Fairfieldian, it looks like. You're already repeat offender, you might say. So thank you very much for coming here. And of course, thank you to Jason Strong in back of the camera. You can't see him for the moment. We're going to get him in front of the camera one of these days. You can hear him. Good luck, right? Fairfield, thank you very much for watching Fairfield 2.0. This is about you. We've got to get you in front of this camera at one point. Right now, we're kind of focusing on the artists and musicians and that community in town, but we're branching out and we're going to come after you one of these days. So be prepared, and we want you on the show too. So thank you again, and take care, Fairfield. Thank you, everybody.